everyone, and welcome to today's Special Agent Secrets presentation. Happy to have you all here. I can see you are all getting into the Zoom room, so that is great. And yeah, this is a pretty good attendance. I guess you guys are all over your the holiday mode and back at work. Here in Toronto, we got some chilly weather. It's snowing out there. It's cold. I'm hoping to do some snowboarding this weekend, which is good news. So let me know where you're at. Let me know where you are. How's the weather? Did you have a nice Thanksgiving? Of course, if you were in the US, that's what you were doing. If you're in Canada, just a fun fact for our American friends, our Thanksgiving was in October. The reason why, I think, is because we are in a colder climate, so our harvest is a bit earlier. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I may just be making that up. It's quite possible. So anyhow, let's get started. I'm going to do a little screen share here. And I'm pretty excited about the content today because it just covers so many parts of marketing, of follow-up, of messaging, communication. I'm very, very interested in the intersection between sales and technology. And a lot of that all kind of comes down to how you're using tools, communication tools like email, text message, video, to effectively communicate with your audience. So that is going to be the core of what we're talking about today. And I also have Rob and Sobia on the call with me today. They are going to be keeping an eye on the chat. And we do love engagement, right? I mean, there's a reason why we do these things live. It gives us a chance to interact with our audience, and it gives you a chance to ask questions and get them answered by us in real time. So please take advantage of that and keep that chat active. I will be checking on it periodically as well. And we're also going to be sharing some links with you. So let's get started. This is part 3. If you've been with us for the whole series, you'll know that it was always meant to be a 3-part series, and it's sort of taking you through various aspects of digital marketing. So today we're going to be talking about re-engagement strategies that really work. Part 1 was all about permission-based marketing, and I am going to ask Rob or Sobia to share a link to our blog, our Agent Secrets blog, so you can go back and you can access those previous sessions that we've done. But part 1 was a lot of content on how to gain your audience permission so you can continue to communicate with them and market to them. Part 2 was building a strong sales funnel. So that really got into different tactics and techniques for generating leads and what to do with those leads once they enter into your funnel. And there's a lot of things that need to happen in order for you to bring them from that, lead status to prospect to client. And it is a numbers game when it comes to leads. So you do need to have a fair number of them in your funnel in order to get that return on your investment. So take a look at that. If you weren't able to join us for part 2, that's available online as well. And we're also going to share links to our social media channels. YouTube is where we post all of our video content. So you can watch this video, for instance, on YouTube once we've posted it. Instagram is also where we post a lot of our content, and would love for you to follow, share, interact with us on those channels as well. Okay, now let's get into this topic because the reason that you're all here is because you struggle with this, right? It's not uncommon to really struggle with this idea of re-engaging. And I think a big part of it is because we just aren't sure what type of content we should be sharing. We don't want to be a pest. We don't want to come across as being too salesy or too aggressive, or at least that's me. Okay, I'm speaking for myself because this is something that we struggle with as well, is what kind of content do we need to be sharing or working on that is going to effectively accomplish our goal, which is effectively to build trust, to share, to educate. But it can be a real challenge to come up with a system that is effective, is enjoyable to do, because if you don't enjoy doing it, you're not going to do it, and is also something that you can do consistently, right? It's not so difficult or so arduous that you can only do it once a year. Can you only do it twice a year? Like, for instance, a live event. Having a live event like a seminar is probably one of the most effective strategies, sales strategies, and for re-engagement as well. But it's a lot of work to do that, right? So we're going to look at different things that you can do that aren't too time intensive, and that will help you accomplish this goal of having a really strong re-engagement strategy. But it really all comes down to communication. I like this quote because I think that it is really on point with what we're talking about here. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. It's, I don't know about you, but I have a hard time just communicating with my kids sometimes, right? Or my husband. We'll tell each other things. We don't hear them properly. We assume that somebody knows something about us. We assume that somebody is not responding to us because they're ignoring us. There's a lot of assumptions that happen with this, and there's a lot of misconceptions. So it is very important to have a very clear and strong intent when it comes to communication. And sometimes more is more. You don't want to be spammy, right? You don't want to be inundating somebody with messaging all the time, but you do have to have a fair amount of it going out in order to get somebody's attention, or in order to communicate effectively what you're trying to communicate. So there is a balance to it. And you can also look at it as, you could look at it as basically a way of coming up with, it's almost like a game, right? You're trying to come up with strategies and things that are really going to work. And sometimes that is, having funny stories or funny images, or things that are a little bit off kilter or off brand for you. So there's definitely a lot of ways that you can accomplish this. And I always like to give everyone my information as well. Many of you know who I am. You've been part of these webinars for years, or for months, or for weeks. But I am a digital marketing expert with Success Website, and I have been teaching realtors like yourself how to effectively be better marketers online for many years. So I do one-on-one consultations with people. If you are interested in booking a call with me, I'm happy to jump on a call and discuss how I can help you, how I can get you a little more organized when it comes to your marketing. So my email is there on the screen. It's Christy@successwebsite.com. And if you want to check out what we do or book a demo with our sales team, you can always visit successwebsite.com. There's lots of great information there. Question for you. What are some specific actions you can take to establish trust with your audience? And when I say audience, that essentially is your database. So if you have a database, if you have a list of people, of contacts, think of those people as your audience. Now, they may have a very limited awareness of who you are. So that is your job, to increase that awareness so they have a better idea of who you are. So think of communication almost like a ladder, okay? So each rung you climb, listening, speaking honestly, clarifying, that brings you closer to trust. But if you skip a rung, the whole structure weakens. And those are the things that really work to gain trust. There are 3 methods for actively engaging with your audience. Asking open-ended questions, right? So that's what I just did with you. I asked you an open-ended question. What are some specific actions you take with your audience to establish trust? Now, some of you may not know the answer to that, right? You may be waiting for me to tell you how to do that, and that's fine. But I think that can be a very important and effective tool when it comes to engagement, is asking those open-ended questions, because it also shows that you're thinking about things, right? You're trying to come up with solutions. Number 2, leveraging interactive content. Don't just stick to one medium. Use social media, use video, definitely use things like text messaging, chat. Use all the tools that you have, but try to think about how you can be more interactive with people. Like, I like this medium on Zoom because it does allow us to be very interactive. You know, you're watching me, you're listening to me, we're all here in real time. And that goes a long way, right? Because you're listening to me, we've already got a rapport. Now, you may not go out and schedule a Zoom to perform to your entire database, or maybe you will, right? Don't write it off as a crazy idea. Think about, what could I deliver to my audience that would benefit them, that would provide them with some valuable content, but would also introduce them to the things that I'm really interested in, right? So, and it doesn't have to be all about real estate either. If you are, let's say, really into mountain biking or kite surfing or quilting, you know, whatever it is, don't be afraid to share those passions that you have and share those interests. That's what will draw people to you and want to connect with you. So, so that I think is very, very important to be thinking about. And then number 3 is to respond and really acknowledge feedback. This is this is something that I think we all struggle with too, is, you know, if you're on social media, maybe you don't spend a lot of time on there, right? Maybe you're not as responsive as you could be when people are commenting and reacting to your content. But it is very, very important. People want to be seen, they want to be heard. So when you respond and you acknowledge, that accomplishes that, right? And that also can really help to build trust and to, start a dialogue as well. So let's say, for instance, on your social media, you can post questions like, what's the biggest challenge you face when buying or selling a home? And then see what kind of feedback you get. Okay, you may get crickets. That's absolutely possible. Or you may get people putting in and interacting. Just make sure that when they do, you're ready to also, acknowledge their feedback and respond to it. You can use things like quizzes. You can encourage comments with prompts like, tag someone who you think would love this home, and just get creative with it, right? Try to mix it up. You don't want to keep posting the same thing over and over again. I know that there are some services out there that will post for you, right? Or you can activate a third party app or something that will just automatically be pushing out content for you. That's fine. I don't know if it goes too far as really building trust and rapport with your audience. I think you You don't want to let that stuff get too far away from who you really are. I think that defeats the purpose. So just be mindful of that when you're using those third-party tools for posting. All right, let's talk a little bit about content, because content is where it all starts, right? What we're doing right now, this is content. What kind of content should you share to establish rapport? Stories, okay? Personalized and relatable stories are extremely powerful. And to be honest, your audience isn't really going to care how many homes you've sold or how much you sold them for. They're not really going to care that you're the number one agent in your area. So if that's the story that you're trying to tell, it's really not going to resonate with people, right? What they want to know is what's important to you, what are your values, what are some of the struggles that you've had, how did you overcome them? I've been to a fair number of real estate conferences, specifically hosted by Craig Proctor, who is a huge real estate coach. And I still remember a story that he would tell it every time at every conference because he knew that it was effective. But the story was about him when he first got started giving seminars, and he had put all this work into it and basically was speaking to an audience of one. He that's how he started. He had one person in the room and he was teaching them, and they basically had to push him out to do it. He was so nervous and so scared about doing that, but he got past it and then became like this massive coaching success, right? So all really good presenters have these stories in their back pocket that they can pull out, and the purpose of that is to connect with their audience. And it's also very memorable. Hearing a story about someone's life and where they come from and a struggle that they had is going to stick in someone's memory a lot more than the facts of what they do and why they do it. So stories that would be a good idea for you to start thinking about, of course, past clients' success stories. I'm going to share, I'm going to ask Robert Sobia to share a blog through briancondoteam.com. So Brian Condo is an agent out in the Durham region. And I have to say, we do an annual blog post or piece of content about our success stories, right? We have our success stories of 2024. He is going to be one of my features because he has totally stepped up his game when it comes to content marketing. And a lot of his blog posts are these success stories where he tells the story of how he helped somebody get through their obstacle of either buying or selling. You can also take those behind the scene moments, such as preparing a home for a showing. Maybe you had some issue that you had to deal with when you were staging a home for a showing and you were able to get past it. Just start looking at like things that happen in your life, and they could be very mundane, everyday things, and pay attention to what those are and how you could potentially craft them into a compelling story, because they are really super effective and can really resonate with your audience. Educational and value-driven content. This is an easier one, I think, because it's easier to outsource this type of information. So that's what makes it a very effective and important part of your content strategy. ChatGPT is beautiful for this, right? You could have a whole series of educational articles about preparing your home for sale, staging your home, neighborhood guides, market updates. A lot of this information is sort of provided to you through your board or through your brokerage. You can maybe try to find a way to make that more entertaining for your audience, but people like to learn. Obviously, you're all here because you like to learn. And it also positions you as an authoritative figure, right? When they are learning something from you, that also goes a long way to establish trust. So if you think about the influencers or the sources of information that you look to and trust, what is it about what they're doing that you find so interesting, right? Is it the way that they're presenting it? Is it because they're, quote unquote famous? I'm always amazed at how many people think that you have to be famous in order to have an audience. That's absolutely not true. It's easier than ever to start growing a following and an audience without having that high level fame. Just look at YouTube. There's tons of content creators on YouTube creating really good content, by the way, free education. And you look at their subscribers and they're in the millions, right? They're getting tons of traffic. So it's definitely worth thinking about how you can start building up a library of educational content that you can put out there consistently. A monthly market update is a perfect example of that. Some sort of newsletter that you can have go out every month, really great example of that as well. And then, of course, it has to be, the more interesting it is, the better. And this also gets into that idea of it being fun for you to do. So engaging visuals, video content, so many tools out there for creating visuals that are absolutely free. Explore those. You may be thinking, well, Christy, I'm not a very creative person. I have no creativity. I say bull. Anyone can be creative, and it even like the laziest person in the world could like have a Canva file that is pretty much creating content for them, right? So all you need to do is just have the incentive to do it, have maybe an idea, an outline, and just go ahead and start creating, right? The only person that's really judging you is yourself. That is your biggest critic, your biggest judge. So having video is great. I like this one, day in the life clips. My daughter has started doing this where she has these vlogs that she does where I mean, I don't really know how she edits it or puts it together, but she likes to sort of come up with these little clips, and she's just doing very mundane things like making dinner. But the day in the life is kind of, maybe it's a TikTok thing. I don't know, but it's cute. It's a cute idea. Reels, short videos, FAQs, community events, things like that. Yeah, don't be afraid to pull out your phone and create some video and see what comes from that. It's just nice to mix it up a bit. Okay, so now that we've sort of got through the content, because to be honest, that's where the majority of the work comes into this. I'm not going to tell you that it doesn't require any work, because it absolutely does. I probably spend at least maybe 20-30% of my time every week creating content, and then probably more of that time thinking about content. The good news is once you have it, there are automated systems that you can use to deploy it. And there are other ways to amplify it as well, if you're willing to pay a little bit to do it. So let's take a moment to discuss some of the more advanced methods for remarketing to your audience. And I'm going to start also by just breaking down the life of a lead. Because when I talk about audience, essentially these are people who have come into your ecosystem, meaning your database or into your funnel, but they may have just come in as a lead, right? And so there is a progression here. So the life of a lead can be broken down into 5 steps. You've compelled somebody to take action, right? They've raised their hand, they've submitted their information. Now they're in your funnel. So you've compelled them enough to do that. You've had your fulfillment go out, right? So for whatever reason they came in for, whether it was to access property, maybe you were offering a hot list of homes, maybe you were offering a free report. If you're doing a good job with your marketing, you were offering something that got them to raise their hand and ask for it. But you have to make sure that that fulfillment is going out right away. Make sure that you've got multi-touch follow-up. So email, text message, ringless voicemail, that's all going out automatically. So that all should happen within the first 15 minutes, right, of getting a lead. Now, step 4 is when we get into this next section that we're going to be talking about, and that is the nurturing, the remarketing, and the re-engaging. And I have these icons of Facebook and Google here because those are the two media outlets that you can use very effectively to do this for very little cost as well. And this diagram will give you an idea of what we're talking about. So let's say somebody lands on your website. Okay, you've brought them to your website either through your own marketing or they found you online. Maybe they're looking at one of your listings, who knows? But when they land on that website, they should be tagged. And that means there's a bit of script or code on your site that is effectively going to tag that visitor. And when that happens, that means Google and Facebook know that that person has been on your website, and we can launch campaigns to advertise to those people. So when they get to your website, they may fill in the form, they may not, who knows, but they get tagged. So now they're tagged, and when they go to other websites, whether it be a news outlet or maybe even Zillow or Realtor.com or any other website, they will start to see your ads, right? So your content can start to pop up on those other websites. So you're staying in front of them in a kind of an interesting way that a lot of people don't really understand why they're seeing this. I know that you probably have experienced this when you're shopping on Amazon, for instance. You look at a pair of shoes and you're like, okay, well, I don't think I'm going to buy those. So you leave. And then all of a sudden, every other website that you look at has those shoes on the site, right? Amazon has tagged you. They know what you were looking at, and now they're going to continue to remarket to you with that specific content. They're very, very smart about it. And we can do that too, right? So that is basically how it works. They see your ad, and then they can click on it and go back to your website. So that whole system can be automated where it's very hands-off. You don't have to do anything other than basically put a small budget into a remarketing campaign on Google. It's a display campaign. And the content that you're going to have on those remarketing ads is going to be pretty specific to the things that we talked about before, right? Those success stories, educational content, maybe something that is dynamic, like a video, infographic, things like that. We'll take a look at some examples in a minute. So here's another diagram to kind of take you through the 3 steps. If you're not remarketing, then basically you're losing a lot of your audience. They land on your website, they may or may not fill in their information, and then they leave. So they're basically just a visitor on your site. But with the remarketing installed, they leave and they haven't requested information, but we can tag them and advertise to them for an amount of time. It can be 30 days, it can be 120 days. That's a fairly long time to have somebody in your audience. And that can actually go a long way to bring people back to your website. So their awareness is now heightened. They're more familiar with your brand, and they are responding, right? They're responding to your advertising. So here's some examples of how that display ad could look on Google, for instance. So you'll notice there's some guarantees. We have a video, right? So it's basically a display ad that can have images, video, text. It can appear on YouTube. It can appear on Gmail. It can appear in apps, right? So in mobile apps. So it has to be dynamic, right? It's going to appear in various places, various sizes. Some is going to have more images than others. So when we're putting together these campaigns for you, of course, we're keeping all of those things in mind. And Google does a pretty good job of delivering the right format to the right device and to the right outlet. So basically what we want to do, though, is we want to make sure that the ads are accomplishing what we want, and that is to get somebody's attention, to bring them back to your website, to gain some trust. And you'll see that we do have some good examples here of educational content. This one is a video. Here's another report. This one was a testimonial. And here's another piece of educational content. So those are some pretty good examples to kind of get you thinking about what type of posts or what type of content you would want to share as part of a remarketing strategy. So a lot of this may seem like there's a lot of catching up to do, and that's true. The best time to optimize your sales funnel was yesterday, and it does require time, effort, consideration to think about how you want to be communicating with your audience, right? You really need, well, for one, you need to have a website that will allow you to post content on it. So if you don't have that, okay, if you don't have a site that gives you a blog, if you don't have a website that gives you landing pages and the ability to post video on your site, or the ability to have like targeted hot lists on your site, then you're already at a disadvantage, okay? I will say that Success Website has all of those things, right? We do supply you with everything you need to be creating really good content that you can share with your audience. You're also going to need a method of delivering that content. You're going to need some systems in place to make sure that that content is going out to your audience. So that's where your CRM comes into play. Your CRM should have some built-in action plan templates that is going to make sure that your leads are getting information from you on a regular basis. And then lastly, you do need somebody who knows what they're doing when it comes to the marketing side, right? Setting up Facebook campaigns, Google campaigns, getting those leads into your funnel to start, right, is extremely important. And that's what we went through when we covered part 2. So that is essentially a project that you should all be working on. And of course, having a strategic approach is absolutely essential. Each stage of this requires specific tools. And we would like to help you. We have helped realtors perform these activities and get these systems in place for over 23 years and have a lot of knowledge and expertise on how to do that. Can we create the content for you and build that trust with your audience? I wish we could, but we could certainly guide you along the way and make sure that you at least have all of the proper building blocks in place. And that really does come down to knowing how to target your audience, having the necessary tools to follow up, and also making sure that you're retargeting and delivering value on an ongoing basis. So if you do need help, okay, as I mentioned before, you can contact me directly. We can set up a one-on-one call. I can basically explain to you what we do. We can discuss your business and what it is that you need help with. Or you could visit successwebsite.com and book a demo that way. But we have all the tools, all the systems in place that you need. And we are also extending our Black Friday offer. So that means you can save up to 25% on the platform. We're going to share a link to that as well. So if you're not currently with Success, please take a look at that. It definitely could be exactly what you need to get all of these things in order into the new year. Now is a great time to be planning and deciding what you really want to prioritize as we get into 2025. Okay, so I also have a special announcement, and it may be a surprise to Rob and Sobia as well, but I've decided that we're going to add a part 4 to the series. It was meant to be a 3-part series, but I want to take it up to the end of December here, and I want to add a part 4 because I think that this topic is, for one, it's very interesting to me, so I am fulfilling my own curiosity here, but I also want to look at the importance of referrals. Okay, so we're going to cover the art of referrals and quality introductions, because as sales professionals, we face pretty specific challenges when trying to generate more referrals. We rely a lot on word of mouth. You may be relying a lot on personal relationships. You may find that you just don't have the time to nurture referrals the way that you want. So we are going to really delve into this and try to find ways of systematizing this art of getting more quality introductions. Because lead generation is great, but it can be very expensive, and the quality of the leads that you get online are never going to equal the quality of a really good referral lead, right? So that is something that I think is really going to be important. Now, let me just quickly jump over to the chat here. And I did see something about my audio. I hope that it is okay. I don't see any more complaints about that. And then I'm going to ask you guys who are on the webinar right now, are there any specific topics that you would like us to cover in the coming months? Is there anything that you feel maybe you would like to learn more about, or you would like to get more help with? And that can have, I mean, it could be about lead generation. It could be about using technology. We're pretty open to any topics that you guys have. So I'll give you a second to put in your comments there. And then also, while we're on the topic of referrals, I would like to ask, are any of you using any specific systems for that? Is there a product or software or a method or coach or some source of information that you've found that has helped you be better at this particular activity? Okay, I do not see any response here, so I guess you're all in the same boat. They definitely need some help with it. Okay, nope, Praveen's got easier, better way of getting the consent. Yeah, well, I mean, as far as consent is concerned, if you're referring to like express consent when somebody comes into your funnel, that usually is covered on your website, right? You should have very specific language on your site that is going to make it clear to whoever is signing up that they are giving their consent. So let me know if that's not exactly what you were looking for. Okay, from contacts on your phone, right? So if you have contacts on your phone, like people who you've interacted with before in business or wherever, it is important to have their consent when you're marketing to them. So a better way to get people into your funnel, instead of having them be contacts on your phone, you want to give them an easy way to opt into your website. So let's say, let's use open houses as an example. If you are at an open house or if you're hosting an open house, you should have a sign-in form that people can easily bring up on their phone and enter their information. And that sign-in form should be connected to your CRM. And that sign-in form should also have a disclaimer on there that has a link to your privacy policy and is clear on the consent settings. So that takes care of that, right? If you have a process for getting people into your contact list that doesn't involve you manually entering them into your phone, then they will automatically have given their consent when they come through. So privacy disclosure is something that you're going to want to have on those forms. And most web forms will have it built in, so it's there. Even if you have a something that's printed, okay, on a piece of paper, if they sign that piece of paper, you can have it on the sheet, right, at the top, that there is a link on your site to their privacy policy. So you're letting them know that it's there and where they can find it. Same goes for, we were talking about SMS sign writers a little while ago, and whether or not you need to have something on your sign writer that also explicitly states that they are giving their consent. So on a lot of sign writers, and actually maybe I'll get Rob or Sobia to share that text message marketing page in the chat as well. But it is very important to make sure you have that consent. So if you're looking to get consent from your existing contacts, then what you may want to do is encourage them to opt in to something on your website, right? Get them to sign up for a free gift, or get them to sign up to receive access to your newsletter or access to property. That's a good place to start for sure. And then other than that, you could really just try to reach out to them, through text, through phone, let them know that you've posted something, you have them as a contact in your phone. And that is, I think that's okay, right? For you to text them, call them, they know who you are. It's more important for those people who don't know who you are. You don't really want to be marketing to them too heavily without that express consent. And Russ just posted something really, really great in the chat here, and that is to use that worthy cause marketing of organizations that matter to you for that support. So what I'm going to do, because I know we've got a bit of time, I'm going to switch over. I'm going to do a quick switch because I want to show you some things in the command center. And these are new action plans that we have recently developed. So just give me 2 minutes here, and then I'm going to show them to you. I have to make sure I'm sharing the right screen here. But we've been developing some new action plans specifically for getting reviews and open house follow-up. So while I'm doing that, I am going to stop sharing my screen here for a second. And then I will share a new screen. Make sure I'm showing the right thing. You know what? I thought I had the right account, but I don't. So, So I won't be able to show you the new ones right now, but I will show you what we've got already. And then we will have some new ones to show shortly. But the ones that I wanted to show looks like the account that I thought they were in is not the correct one. So let's share this. And also, this will give you a chance to, if you have any questions about our platform, I can certainly show you some things in here since we're in here. So this is the Action Plans Manager in Engage. And here are some examples of re-engagement campaigns that we've got. And they do deal with specific topics like coming soon listings, old buyer leads, whether it's like new construction, a seller campaign. So this one is specifically text messaging. So if you have somebody who you know is selling their home, you can launch a re-engagement plan. So this is somebody who's already been in your database, and it has a series of messages, 2 text messages, and email. And this one for property updates. So this would be something that you would use when somebody's returning to your site after looking at property updates. 2 text messages, email, that's all there. So what we are going to be adding to this is an action plan specifically for trying to get reviews, right? So a great way to get more reviews from your happy clients is to offer something, right? You can offer them a gift card, or as Russ said, you could offer to make a donation to a charity in exchange for a review. So the email will have all of that information about what you're offering to get the review. It'll have a link to wherever you want them to leave the review. So that could be your Google business page, or it could be Zillow, or I think Google would probably make the most sense. And then we would also have a text message that goes out to confirm that they received that. And then some other action plans deal more with specific activities, like what would happen if somebody visits an open house, and what kind of follow-up you would want to go out to that person when they've already left, right? And you want to try to get feedback on the house, or find out just how motivated they are to move, to buy or sell. Do you guys have any other ideas on follow-up plans? Is there anything else that you would really like to have? Because we can certainly create anything and everything in here, and it can go on for as long as you want. It can be as short as you want. It can have text, email, ringless voicemail. What are some of the scenarios that you would like to have automated follow-up or automated communication for? So I see Randy put something in, anything existing for FSBOs. So the FSBOs are, I know what you mean. You can get those lists, right? So you can purchase lists of homeowners who have tried to sell, or are trying to sell without an agent. The issue there, again, comes back to the consent. And quite often, those lists that you get don't include email and they don't necessarily include phone numbers. They include the address. So in that case, you've got to use what you have. So if you have the address, you're going to want to craft a very well constructed letter that you can send to the FSBO that will guide them to what it is that you want them to do. Ideally, you want them to offer their consent. So that would be going into your website, requesting information, and then opting in for it. So perhaps you could send a letter or send a flyer or send something to the person's address and offer them a free report on how to sell your home without an agent, or the top 5 pitfalls of trying to sell a home without an agent, and just make it as easy as possible for the person to sign up for that information. You could have a QR code on the sheet so they can scan it and go directly to your site and opt in for it that way. You could have it as a text message where they have to text you a specific code to your marketing number. That will automatically go into your CRM as well. That means you at least have their phone number. You still don't have their email though. So you're just at that point trying to gather up as much information as you can. Yeah, and you said reverse FSBO, so maybe fill me in a little bit more on what you mean by that, because what I was referring to is kind of marketing messages you could broadcast to a potential FSBO, and it really depends on how you're getting that list as well. But you could have a plan specifically for inactive leads, right? People who haven't responded to any of your marketing. So what is it that you would want to send to those people? As I said, we're going to be doing an open house follow-up. So when you have leads from an open house, you're going to have a series of messages that you can automatically send out to that group. Maybe you do want a plan specifically for marketing your content, right? I know that the agent that I mentioned before, Brian Kondo, one of the things that he's also done, he's posting regularly, regular blog posts, but he's also emailing his list minimum once a week to share that content, right? He's actually increased that to multiple times a week. So he does have an email plan that is going out to his audience, and that is linking back to his blog and sharing his content that way. Yeah, I mean, possibilities are endless. We have lots and lots of ideas, lots of existing plans in our system, in our library. So that's not a problem. It's just getting something that is going to accomplish what it is we're setting out to do. And that usually is either getting more awareness, building trust, and getting you more live conversations. So everything that we build is around those goals. Yeah, so I think what Randy is saying here is kind of similar to what I was getting at, like having a message or a report that is going to compel somebody who's having trouble selling their home on their own to use an agent to do it. How to sell, well, actually, so how to sell your home without an agent, right? Like that is a report. And I know that Craig Proctor, as part of his coaching program, he does have a very specific report and landing page that is exactly that message. So that is smart, right? That's definitely a good way to do it. So I like where this is going. I still feel like we could do a little bit more brainstorming here on ideas and ways that we can communicate with our audience, but it's a work in progress. We're always developing, learning, trying new things. And as I said, we are more than happy to help you with it, help you accomplish your goals. And I think that's where we are going to leave it today. So please stay tuned. Join us for part 4 coming up in 2 weeks, where we're going to delve into the art of referrals and getting those quality introductions. And I will look forward to that. And thank you so much to Rob and Sobia for sharing all those links and keeping an eye on the chat. And thanks to all of you for being with me today. I've really enjoyed this and especially love the interaction and the feedback. So thank you for that. I hope you all have a wonderful day and we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.